Hello, I'm Graham Hunter. Welcome to the big interview. Today, 6 years into this series, I welcome my final guest of the 2021 season, and I think we're going out on a high. This is a newly crowned champion of England, and if you're listening to this on the week of its release, he's preparing for a Champions League final with Manchester City. It's this tournament, the Champions League, that I wanted to talk about when I met Ilkay Gundogan over a Zoom call. We got into his history with this competition, starting as a fan, somebody I knew was absolutely devoted to European football and the Champions League in the same way that I am, and then a Borussia Dortmund footballer who learned the hard way that there's something different, something special about the Champions League. He goes into some depth about the emotions of being an elite footballer, the impact it has on you when you don't win a Champions League final. Remember, he'd been there once before against Bayern Munich at Wembley. Anyway, here is Ilkay, and he's going to tell you a bit about the mindset that helps him deal with these types of games, and a great deal about his relationship with one of the most influential, important figures in modern football, Pep Guardiola. Look out for his description of Pep Guardiola in 3 key words. It's as good as anybody I've ever heard describing the Catalan. Thank you to Kin Partners, to Alex at Manchester City, to Arif, to Onur and Ilhan for making this happen and giving us the privilege of spending considerable time with Ilkay Gundogan, a smashing footballer, and he's turned out to be a really articulate, intelligent guest on the big interview. If you enjoy this, please simply tell others to listen. We think it's different? Are we allowed to say that? In the case of Gundogan, we think it's just good listening. Thank you. Big interview, listeners. We're very fortunate today, not because we've got an impending Champions League finalist, not simply because we've got a brilliant footballer, nor even that we've got one of today's champions of England, but in Ilkay Gundogan, we're talking to somebody who apparently adores football just as much as all of us. First of all, Ilkay, thank you for taking the time to stop and speak to us. But have I represented you correctly that football isn't just a profession for you? It's something that really you love deeply and it's in your soul.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure for me. So really appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, everyone who loves the game, who loves football, I think can associate with it. Me, I grew up with it. It's in my family. I think I'm privileged to have an older brother who I always was able to look up to and try to compete with him when he was playing as well. So it's just in the family, you know. Like, since I am able to think, I know that football was always there, and now being able to, kind of live my life in such a privileged way is just incredible to me. It means so much to me, to my family, and what football has given me in life in general is just incredible to me.
It can try and help transmit some of the passion that you felt at a young age to our audience, because, again, something that we share is just this complete love, adoration of the Champions League. I'm not certain I can explain it, but ever since I grew up in a place called Aberdeen in Scotland, and one of the first foreign teams we ever played against was Eintracht Frankfurt, early 70s, and all I felt was, this is a different rival, this is a foreign team. I have to see if the team that I love could beat them. What are they like? How do they move? How do they dress? Why do they look different? All this kind of stuff. And from that day until this, football in Europe, that's why I moved from Scotland and England to live in Barcelona. But for you, try and transmit, what was it like watching Champions League football once you began to be conscious of it? And given where you lived, who were you supporting? Because if the house was a little bit split between Gala and Fener, and maybe, I don't know if Bastorp was catching your eye for Leverkusen in that brilliant Topsy season. Tell us about a Champions League night for you when you're a young kid going, I love this.
You know, I actually talked a couple of days about it and about how much the Champions League means to me, to my family in general. I remember nights, of course, midweek nights, the whole family getting together. We are in our apartment, which was obviously not the biggest one because we were not rich. But, like everyone was coming from everywhere. My grandparents were there, my auntie, my uncles, my cousins, of course, my parents, my brother and me. So we were trying at least always to come together. And of course, in the Turkish culture, it's quite common, like all the family comes always together for these kind of events. And because we loved football so much, it gave us also the opportunity, to come even more often together because of all the games that we were able to watch together, because of the team we were supporting together. Mainly in our family, we had Galatasaray supporters, or we have Galatasaray supporters. The only one is my mom. She's Fenerbahce, with a big influence from her dad. But yeah, in general, these European nights, they meant so much to us. It was so big, maybe because it was also so far away, because you have mentioned that your team plays against teams from all over Europe, and it just seems so big, that it was always and is still so magical to me and means so much to me. And being now part of it, playing in the Champions League, which was always for me like the ultimate target, like the ultimate achievement. It's just, you can probably tell in the way I speak about it how much it means to me.
It's in your eyes and it's in your smile, but look at me. I'm nearly 60 and it still does the same with me, and I never played in the competition, so we share something. Going back to then, with the family huddled around the television, everybody elbow room for the best seat. Maybe some dips, I don't know. Maybe some lemonade, I don't know. But
we were not enough seats. We were sitting. Some had to sit on the floor, so we didn't have that much space. But that was okay. That was all right.
It feels more like a community then. I guess it feels more like it used to feel in a football ground, with everybody packed in together and shouting. And no, that wasn't. Yes, that was. Which night? Which game, which player, or repeatedly were the ones that stick in your mind right now?
There's actually one moment that I will never forget in my life, and that was not the Champions League night. It was actually an UEFA Cup night. But as you know, Galatasaray won the UEFA Cup in 2000 by beating Arsenal in the final actually. And it was so surprising and such a moment that no one really expected. And we came all together with the family again, going into the penalties, having 120 minutes penalties. And then I remember Popescu scoring the last penalty for Galatasaray, which meant the win of the UEFA Cup. And I especially remember my youngest uncle sitting in the living room, being on the floor, starting to cry because of the happiness and the joy, and we were all hugging each other. It was a celebration. It was a party, and it was such a nice moment in my childhood. I was just 9, I think, 9 or 10, and it was just an incredible evening, just an incredible night.
Were you already really comfortable with football by then? Were you comfortable enough with a football that you were also looking around your living room that day going, look what football can do to people. Look at the grip it has on their emotions, and when something goes well, the effect it has on people.
I don't really think that I was much aware of it in that moment because I was still so young. But obviously now, looking back, it kind of, I don't know, it kind of feels even more special right now, just the memory itself, just having having that in your mind, what happened that night, that it's also something unforgettable. I think probably it means now even more to me than it did in that moment. And I think that makes it even more special, because now I can even understand more what was going on, what was going on, especially in my uncle's mind or my parents, the older ones' minds, because I was still so young. And of course, I was supporting my team and there was passion. But I'm sure in that moment, I didn't know to appreciate that moment enough. And now looking back, it feels completely different. And just having that memory that I will never forget in my life, it's just precious, I think.
I'm lucky enough, because I've lived for 20 years in Barcelona, but for other reasons too, to have interviewed Pep Guardiola a lot of times. And Alex will tell you that I interviewed him, I think yesterday. And one of the questions I asked him was, because I listened to him talking about it, and obviously I want to ask you if you feel the same. When Pep talks about the Champions League as a competition, he talks about it like a living, breathing creature. It's not just a competition. And he's talking about the tests he had and the disappointments and successes he had as a footballer and as a coach. And it's always been my impression that people don't listen to him enough. He says it's difficult to get out of the group. It's difficult to win the competition. Tiny little details, tiny margins. And I want to apply that to I think I have it right in that your first two games in this competition that we both love, the Champions League, were in Greece and Olympiacos and a defeat, and in Marseille a defeat, with a very, very, very good Dortmund side and a very good coach. And I'm trying to suggest to you that the Champions League can be a really difficult, nasty lover sometimes. It doesn't always smile on you. Sometimes it can really... And I don't know what those first two games felt like to you after being so big to play in the competition, and then suddenly bash against Olympiacos, bash against Marseille.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that first season that I was playing in the Champions League with that really good Dortmund side. I mean, we had some really talented boys in our team, and everyone was expecting us to do well, maybe surprisingly to proceed quite far. And probably it was for 1995, maybe for all of us, our first Champions League season ever. And it just hit us like a bus, I guess. It was so difficult, even though we were really looking forward to it. It was so difficult to expect something, if that makes sense. We didn't really know what was coming, what to expect, how to deal with it. So it was a completely new experience for us, completely new situation. And as it is sometimes in life, you face a new challenge, and sometimes you might do really well in the beginning, and then maybe having problems afterwards, or you struggle straight away, and you still need a bit time to adapt to the challenge itself, to adapt yourself to it. So we did really bad in the beginning. We did really bad in our first Champions League season with Dortmund. And I don't think we can blame us, because at the end of the day, I don't think that we should regret anything. It was just we were just not ready to face these European teams, even though they were maybe on the same level as us. But sometimes that's the case. Sometimes you need experience. Sometimes you need to smell, to feel, how it is to be on the pitch, playing in that competition, flying away, staying over a couple of nights somewhere else, playing in the evening in front of crowds that are just incredible, and stadiums that are full of emotions. So it was a completely new experience. And I guess we really had to adapt, and we really had to go through this frustration of not doing well in the first Champions League season we had. And as it turned out, the season after, it was probably necessary as well.
Do you think in that area you're talking about new experiences for a footballer, say in the Champions League, do you think that psychology is the main word, that psychology is like a muscle? You can't go to the gym to train it, but each month, each year, I think, when I look at the top players, often the character is there, often the ability is there. They have a great coach, they have beautiful facilities, everything is done for them. But the psychology and processing things and being ready for things is like a muscle. Is that true? Do you think I'm wrong? How do you assess that?
No, I think you are spot on. Psychologic is a very big part in football, in our job, especially when it comes to that level. It's just incredible how much influence just your mind, the way your mindset, the way you think, your attitude can have, and which impact it can have also whether you're successful or not. There are really fine margins at the end of the day, and somehow you need to try to get in control of that. I mean, just a simple example. Sometimes me ahead of games, I'm so nervous that I really need to try to find a way to calm down and to handle that feeling of being nervous, because at the end of the day it's something that we might need, this feeling of having nerves, the tension that you feel inside as an athlete. I really believe that this forces you at the end also to try to do as good as possible, On the other side, the margin is very fine, because when you have too much of it, it can also scare you. It can increase the fear inside yourself, so that you're not able maybe to play your best possible game. So it's really up to sometimes to get in control of that, and especially also to use it in your favor.
I asked your coach yesterday about whether that Pep Guardiola is not a guy who looks backwards a lot. It's always forward, go forward. So I was nervous a little bit to ask him if there was anything he could take from Wembley in 2011, which was the last time he played and he coached the Champions League final, lifted the trophy, etc. But he gave a really good answer. He said, I remember what we felt like then. And obviously I'm going to ask you about your Wembley experience with Borussia Dortmund and scoring and Bayern Munich. The match is gone now. But he learned a lot. He said in the first game for Barcelona against Manchester United in Rome, we weren't ready, we were tired, there were players missing, we didn't know. He said before the Wembley game against Manchester United, he said we knew. We arrived right, we were prepared, the mood was good. When you look back at Bayern Munich against Borussia Dortmund at Wembley, can you take things forward to what's coming for you from that experience?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because I personally, when I try to think back about that time, and I mean, it's already 8 years ago, so it's not a short time. It's quite long ago, to be honest. But I definitely remember that me personally, I felt myself in a very good condition when I arrived in into that Champions League final. I think we had a good season. We didn't win the league, but I think we had a good season. Especially in the Champions League, we were doing great, and we were full of confidence. And I don't know, I just remember being in a good condition. And I think at the end of the day, the game showed it as well. I mean, it was a very tight game. Okay, we lost, but maybe with a little bit more luck, we would have been able to win. I remember we started the game really well in the first half. We had a couple of really good chances to score the first goal at least. But it was not meant to be at the end. I couldn't say right now that there was something in our behavior or in the way we approached the game that was wrong. I couldn't really tell. What I know right now is that, especially with winning the league already a few days ago, and then also having that Newcastle game afterwards, which was like an incredible game by conceding also 3 goals, which was very unusual for us for this season. Now again the game away at Brighton, again conceding 3 goals. It feels kind of normal that maybe the tension dropped a little bit after winning the league. The pressure dropped also a little bit. But I know that, like we should really use these games, and also now having the last league game on Sunday against Everton, we should really use that game not maybe to win, because this is something that comes automatically at the end, but to approach the game the same way we approached the games in the season, in the whole season, and also the same way we want to approach that final, because I do believe that this is the only way of being successful in that final, to win that final. So our final doesn't, or the preparations for the final, they don't really start after the Everton game. They already started a couple of weeks ago or 10 days ago when United lost at home the game against Leicester, and we were champions. Really, the preparations for the Champions League final started on that day, and that's how I really see it, and how I do believe that this is the only way of winning that final as well.
I'm going to take a small risk because we have sponsors, Bet365, who support us all the time and keep us moving. When there is no COVID, we fly around Europe to interview guests. They've asked us to ask you to describe Pep Guardiola in 3 words. Now, please, you can choose 3 Turkish words, 3 German words, or 3 English words. But please, so long as you translate the ones, if you choose it in your mother tongues.
So first word would be probably genius, because I've never worked with a manager who's so much into all the details of the game, who's able to have such an influence during a game, who's able to improve all the different players that he has worked with. And I mean, I know not just myself, I know also a lot of players who have worked with him in the past, and he might be not the easiest of characters, but who is really. After that, I come to my second word. But everywhere he was, when you talk with the players that he worked with, every player just admired to work with him, to learn from him. And he improved, I think, every team he worked in, and also all the players he worked with. So he's so influential. He's just amazing, and also the amount of titles he won, they just prove this. Second one is intense, and he is very intense. He's as I said before, it might not be always easy, not just with him, generally what he wants from you, what he demands, what you need to deliver on the pitch. But it's never easy when you wanna be the best. So when you're competitive and you want to reach your maximum level, and you want to get as good as possible, it needs to be intense. It needs to be difficult. So it's very challenging, but really in a positive way. And the third word to describe him, for me, would be kind of family, because I feel really close to him. I had a lot of downs with him, but also a lot of ups. I won with him, I lost with him. I know that family in general, people around him, friends, which he considers also family, as someone who's from Spain, with that culture, who, is very close with people, with his people. I know that this is for him also very important. And he has it mentioned also a few times also in the media, when David Silva, as an example, had issues with his family going on. Family is always number one for him. And sometimes I try to look at him not just as a manager, also as a friend, as someone from the family. I would consider myself really close to him. And I really appreciate that, because he's not just an incredible manager, he's also a great human being to me.
I think, honestly, no flattery, it tells something to our listeners that you're a special man, because if you say, I work for an intense genius, And the third word, which you can explain also is family and friend, that says something about the other half of the relationship. And now I have to talk about the other half of the relationship because you said an extraordinary thing a couple of months ago. I want to talk about the nudge. You're playing for Dortmund. You're playing against Pep Guardiola's Bayern Munich. Now, I know from the first time I met Tuchel was in Berlin, and he was the Dortmund manager, and he was giving a big workshop to the Aspire Academy, and he said, I played Pep Guardiola's Bayern Munich last week, and it's hell. I come up with this idea, he comes up with that idea, and you talked about running around trying to compete against a matrix of players playing in a different way, in a different level, competing and trying to figure it out. But in the tunnel before a game, he just gives you a nudge. Just a little nudge. And I like detail. I love that. And you, because you open up about yourself, you said, could I play for him? I wonder. And he said to Cheeky Begiristain, this is the number one guy. So let's go back to the nudge. And why did you remember that?
I think mainly I remembered it because for me he was someone who I just admired. Like, especially watching his Barcelona side, and I was still a teenager back then, watching his Barcelona sides play, playing not just with that success, lifting all these trophies, just also the way they were playing, I just for me, it was always, when he was there, my biggest dream ever was to play in that side. I think I was just, 17, 18, 19 maybe, I was, or 20. But it was just, it was so far away, but that was just incredible just to watch, them playing. I don't know, I just loved it so much. And then he came to the Bundesliga. It was exciting. We faced them many, many times. It was, as you said it was always so difficult to play against this side, because you thought they always have a plan, and their plan is always better than the actual plan that you have. So they always have an answer for your plan. And then instead of them adapting to your plan, you're always forced to adapt to their plan. And let's be honest, we beat them maybe a couple of times in numerous of games, but we never really deserved it. I remember especially one game. It was a cup semi-final, and over 120 minutes they destroyed us. Like, I think they had possession of 60-70% maybe. They had so many chances, and the game finished a draw after 120 minutes. I don't know if it was 0-0 or 1-1, and then we went into penalties, and we beat them on penalties because I think they slipped. Two of their players slipped a couple of times. They missed penalties, and we beat them. And we were so happy afterwards in the dressing room, obviously, because we went into the final. But I was sitting there just asking myself, how did we win this game? It was just incredible. Yeah, and the older I got, the more my mindset changed a little bit. And this is also something I think he taught me. Obviously, passively when I was playing against him, and then actively when I was playing for him and starting to work with him, that I can be even happy after a game that I lose or that I don't win. I can, because the moment the referee blows his final whistle, I exactly know if I was able to deliver in that moment, in that match, everything I had or not. And there are always games that you feel a bit unlucky, and of course you're sad. I remember, as an example, that Champions League game against Tottenham when we got knocked out after the 95th minute when Raheem scored the goal, and before there was a goal and it was offside, and we got knocked out. And after the game I was so sad and so disappointed, so frustrated. But I really had the feeling I gave it all on the pitch. I gave it all, and since today I think we played great. Of course we did stupid mistakes, we conceded 3 goals, but we really played a really good game. And of course, I was angry, I was sad, I was disappointed. But at the end of the day, I was able to tell myself, okay, I give it all today, and it was not meant to be, and we continue from here. And this is really something that I've learned, that I'm not looking into wins, trophies, points anymore that much. I just look into that feeling that I have, this satisfaction that you feel inside yourself, that feeling that you have. And if that's the case, probably most of the time you will also win, this will come automatically. But even if not, the world goes not down, and you can still be happy about what you did.
I enjoyed that answer, and if I've understood it correctly, I interviewed Cavani on Sunday ahead of the game v Villarreal, and he talked about how, for him, of course winning and trophies are really important, but for him his life in football has to be about the journey. It has to be about how I've changed, how I've worked against adversity, whether it's personal adversity or football adversity, and that feels slightly related to what you're saying, because you're talking about, have I given the best of me? Have I given the coach what he asked of me? Have we given a great spectacle, even if we didn't? Because getting used to defeat is what every sportsman and woman has to do. It's a shit feeling, but you have to get used to it. So the journey, if you use those moments when you come off, even Spurs, and you go, I know we played well, I know we did the right things, next time it will come, it develops you as a person, not just as a footballer.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure. I mean, in general, football gave me so many opportunities in general. And the fact that I'm sitting here, we're having this conversation, I'm in a foreign country, like for a few years already in a city, I came to a city that I didn't know before. I was never here apart from a game that I had with Dortmund. I didn't know anyone. I mean, it's just the whole journey itself, that comes with it. Not just in my football life, in my general life, in my social life. So I appreciate it. I appreciate also the setbacks. I appreciate the difficult moments that I had, and I had a lot. A lot of defeats, a lot of setbacks with injuries, a lot of difficult moments in my career so far. But always I was able to react well, to come back well from that. And every time it gave me something. And mostly I would say it gave me satisfaction, that I was able to come back, to be again on the top of my game. And I don't know, it's just, I think that's the challenge of life, isn't it, in general, not just in football, in general. So we always try to do our best. Sometimes it's not enough. You fail, you lose, but then it's about standing up again and then, try to proceed again.
We have members, socios, who support us as well as our sponsors, Bet365. And I want to say thanks to Stephen O'Reilly, Robert Ryan, Ben Nicholson, and Gareth Scriven. Gareth has written into us and says, Ilkay has added more goals to his game this season. Although I remember I wasn't in the games, but for Bochum, you scored more regularly than you did later for Nuremberg and for Dortmund. But you have added, this is your number one senior season for scoring goals. And Gareth wants to know, have you changed your own game to get more goals? Or is it completely a positional thing that the team is functioning in a way that allows you to be in different areas? Which is the better way to interpret it?
I think the second one, definitely the second one. People keep telling me, oh, you're in the best form of your life and the best situation of your career so far. And then I always answer that I don't do anything different, to be honest. I take care of myself as I did the last few years. I feel the same way that I felt last year. They keep asking me, like, what you're doing different? and I don't know the answer, to be honest. As simple as that. Sometimes the team changes slightly, the selection is maybe a little bit different, the way you approach the game is a bit different. And I remember when we were in a quite difficult moment in the beginning of the season, in October, November time, our manager tried to fix a couple of things, tried to adapt a little bit, tried to change our game slightly, tried to change the approach slightly. And more it allowed me to come into a different role and to take also maybe a little bit more responsibility in terms of going forwards into the opponent's box. And then obviously once I started scoring goals and once this whole machine of the 11 players on the pitch started to work out quite well, it's kind of easy after that, to be honest. It's maybe weird to say, but it's just about repeating it again and again and again and again. And of course, I was then in a moment where I had a lot of confidence after I scored my first 2, 3, 4 goals in December, January time. And honestly, February, March, I don't even remember how, like, it went past so quick. And I scored all these goals. I don't even remember how anymore, to be honest. It was just like, for me, it was the most normal thing just to go on the pitch, to score, and then just to leave the pitch again. It sounds maybe weird, and I don't want it to sound arrogant at all, but I was not even thinking about anything else than just doing the same that I did in January, beginning of February. And I think the outcome was just, by repeating every time this and having that same feeling, the same confidence inside yourself, that it just happened automatically. I even remember the Spurs game at home when I scored 2 goals. I had to get off the pitch because I started to feel a bit my groin, my adductor. And I knew in that moment when I was off the pitch, because that was something extraordinary then, that was something, okay, you're in such a good form in a run, and then you got taken out of this, and you're forced to, even when you just have a break of 2, 3, 4, 5 days without training, without a match, maybe you're missing 1 game, you're immediately out of this feeling. This feeling is gone. And that's why I targeted to come back as quick as possible, because I didn't want to lose that feeling, And I remember the doctor saying to me after that game, okay, it will take a few days. You might miss a couple of matches at least. And me, I was aiming to come back as soon as possible. And I remember I just missed 1 game away at Everton, and the next game at Arsenal away, I was on the pitch again. I played full 90 again. So I wanted to get in shape as quick as possible and not to lose anything of this momentum.
You've anticipated my second last one, and I felt it was a cheeky one, but again, I feel a connection. I only ever scored amateur football goals or amateur hockey goals. But when you score, Ilkay, particularly if you're scoring regularly, let's now not talk about winning games or trophies or salary. The act of scoring. I talk to myself a lot. I talk to myself in my head. I talk out loud a lot. And when I talk to myself, I'm a happier person. When you score goals, I think it changes you. I think you're sunnier, happier, more confident. Maybe I'm talking rubbish, but do you feel that when the goals are going in? Do you walk with an extra little bit of happiness and confidence outside the game, not in the game?
Definitely. I mean, I was never the type of guy in my professional career, at least, that was scoring 10 plus goals per season, as everyone knows. But once you get into that run that I've mentioned before, once you start scoring, that feeling of scoring, is also something you need to get used to. Like your teammates coming to you, hugging you, celebrating you, basically, that you are the goal scorer. The people on the sideline, the staff, I mean, obviously there was no crowd this season. So it's the people outside who are celebrating in a certain way you at the end of the day. It's also something you need to get used to. And sometimes it's intimidating, really. Sometimes, like, when you're the center of attention, especially before you score, when you're in this goal scoring position and everything is just, like concentrating on you and what you're going to do, it's putting you a little bit under pressure. And when you're not used to that feeling, how to deal with that situation and maybe not to overthink stuff, you're doing better. And of course, when you start scoring and repeat and repeat and repeat, the more often you get into that position, the better you are able to deal with it. and it's just basically at the end of the day, it's like training, you know, it's like training. So I definitely agree. It's something you need to live, you know, and probably that's also a reason why some people maybe have just 1, 2, and me as well. I had it as well. I had maybe last season, I don't know, I had maybe 3 goals in the league. I don't really remember, but not many. But then now, the fact that I told you, I don't even remember how these goal scoring positions, you know, how I came into them and how it happened, how it was meant to be that I score. Because I was not really thinking about it.
It's a beautiful thing that you have inside you. The last one then is, let's not talk about Chelsea, let's not talk about winning or losing, but let's talk about those, I hope as many of those people that were in your living room watching the Champions League with you when you were a kid are still with us, are still alive. I want to think about what will they think when they see you, I hope lining up for City, but certainly in Oporto, light blue strip, not bench, I hope, but in the squad with you. Another Champions League final for Ilkay Gundogan. Your grandparents' region in Turkey, the friends from Bochum as a young player, Gelsenkirchen as a developing guy. What will be going through their hearts and heads, and how much do you have to just package that up and put it away pretty soon?
Honestly, probably the best for me is not to think about that too much, because I can imagine, I'm sure that a lot of people in my family, of my friends, they want me more to win that trophy than I probably want myself. I feel it, you know, and not just with the Champions League in general. When I get hurt, when I get an injury, I see my parents much more worried for me than myself. When I get a small knock, my mom nearly cries on the phone, you know, and is worried about what happened. When I lose a game, people are sometimes more disappointed. My friends are more disappointed, angrier than me maybe. On the opposite side, when I win, they are also more able to show their emotions, their happiness, their joy, than I am actually, because I don't know, sometimes I'm a weird guy, and I can't always show my emotions. But yeah, they will be, of course, I hope they will be proud. I'm sure they will be proud to see me there in that final once again. And of course, this time they will hope that I will be on the winner's side and I will be able to lift that trophy. And at the end of the day, it wouldn't be just my achievement, or in general, I don't see my career as my personal achievement. I see it as an achievement of my family, of my friends, of people who supported me, former managers, former teammates. Everyone played his part, and I appreciate every moment that I lived. And I'm very grateful and thankful to all the people that played a role in my life.
Ilkay, I hope when they listen to this you've made many new friends and supporters who'll be pitching for you on the night of the 29th. I need to say thanks to Florian, to Onur, to Ilhan, to you, 1,000% to you for being so articulate, so friendly, for sharing your love of this game. It's been a huge pleasure. And also, I suppose we have to say thanks to Pep for nudging you as well.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. The pleasure was mine.